Hello and welcome to another Diablo 4 class rundown. My name is ChaosMole and today we're talking about the Druid of the open beta of Diablo 4. But before we do this, a few things I have to mention. First things first, sorry that you have to see my schmuck face in the top left corner. Turns out I don't have any raw footage of the Druid, which was usable, and so I had to use the footage from my live stream, which you can find at youtube.com/ChaosMoleFX or at ChaosMole, depending on what you want to use. Second, everything I'm saying here is about the open beta, and everything you will see in the game when it comes out will be endgame. And of course, a lot of features which were not available in the open beta for the Druid will then be available. Like one of the most important things were the spirit boons, and you couldn't get that. And Blizzard has already said because of that, the class was basically gutted and couldn't perform as well as it should be. But we will talk about that in just a few minutes. So I will not really talk too much about the power the Druid has, like how much DPS it does, how quickly it can kill something. But there is a lot to talk about even without that. Second, before we go into it, please don't forget to like the video if you enjoy the content, and please consider to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more Diablo 4 content in the future, and also some Starfield content. Now, with that said, let's talk about the Druid. How does the Druid feel? Slow, ridiculously slow and underpowered. As I said before, spirit boons, which seem to be super duper important, not available in the open beta because it's in a different region and not in the Act 1 region. A similar problem the Barbarian has, but it wasn't as bad. Apparently the spirit boons are really strong for the Druid, and yeah, we are not able to utilize them. And apparently that makes a huge difference. But even with that said, there's just a lot of stuff which doesn't feel cohesive. It's this, they try to recapture the feeling you had in Diablo 2 with the Druid, that you can transform into a werebear, into a werewolf, but you can also like control the storms and lightning and all that. But at the same time, it feels super awkward in this one because they also try to connect those things. So they want you that you are not just a werewolf, but they want you that you are switching between werewolf and caster or werewolf and werebear. And it's this is all like weird. It doesn't feel really great. And it gets even further, like you can see me going a little bit angry right now in the video, which fits pretty well with what I want to talk about. And that's like the whole earth tree, like everything which is earth/stone magic seems to be solely focused on PvP, but it's still like the strongest casting thing you can get. So you have this weird feeling of, why did I even put points into this? But it's still like the strongest abilities you can get. And this really showcases the issue I think the Druid has, is this, everything feels pretty close to, this is made for PvP in mind, but doesn't really help you in dungeons and boss fights, right? And I think the biggest letdown for me on the Druid was the shapeshifting. Look, one of my most played classes in Diablo 2 was the Druid. So I was completely looking forward to finally play the Druid again in Diablo 4. But especially the shapeshifting feels so underwhelming because it's not really shapeshifting anymore. So what you are doing now, let's just talk about the easiest attack for the werewolf, is the claw. It's just a right-click attack and that's it. And when you do the right-click, you transform into a werewolf and you do the hit. And then after a few seconds when you are not attacking, you are transforming back into your human form. That's it. The thing is, though, you don't get any perks. You don't get anything by becoming a werewolf or becoming a werebear. Yes, I'm aware. That is actually one of the talents which you can unlock after level 25. I think it's around level 30, 30, 32 or something like that, where you can unlock that. But still, think about that. You have to level till like level 32 before you really get anything out of transforming into the werebear or into the werewolf. And it's this, wait a minute, what? So it's basically just an animation? Yeah. It's literally an auto attack which makes you look different. But you're not gaining anything from looking different. And it is such a big letdown. And it was heartbreaking for me to see that the transformation doesn't really do anything for you. It's they literally could have made it the Berserker fast auto attack, and they just renamed it and again put the werewolf skin over it. But it's literally the same thing, and it's a bit disappointing. Another thing which is also disappointing and a little bit weird is the pets. The Druid had quite a bit of pets in Diablo 2. And you can still do that. You could still do a pet build. But if you think that your pets are remotely as strong as the Necromancer pets, oh, you are sorely mistaken. Also, that the ravens don't really fly around with you. Man, animation department, huh? Thought like, let's not do that. That would take some work. But no, like the pets are not even remotely close to what the pets are doing for the Necromancer. And it's more like a get a passive attack buff thingy, and then you have an active one which helps a little bit. But it feels so underwhelming. And like even the Sorg has stronger pets, aka conjuring, right? Like the Hydras, for an example. The Hydras are so strong and feel so much better in comparison to what the Druid is bringing to the table. And I'm really thinking myself, does this really have to do with the spirit boons? I don't think so. Like, spirit boons are one thing, but they don't really will change how the Druid feels. And the Druid feels awkward a lot of the time. Another thing, Tornado, you probably know that one, and that hasn't really changed. It's still the same thing, but you cannot control it. It's just zigzagging over the battlefield and will hopefully hit the same enemy multiple times, or will not hit the enemy at all. Like, one of the two things will happen, you know it, and that's what you are still getting here. But the weirdest part, the Druid is a caster, right? You can go melee, tank, and all that, but one of the main abilities is casting for the Druid. He has tons of casts. And he is the only class who doesn't really have any sort of like mana regeneration, or spirit in that case. Like, the only thing he has is his left click that regenerates spirit. But that's it. That's just it. You don't have any passive regeneration or anything else really which could increase like the spirit generation at the beginning quickly, and you wonder yourself, wait, so how am I supposed to really feel like being a caster? And the answer is you don't right now. You just don't. I had too many fights where I was literally just left clicking all the time. And the left click is not even great. It doesn't even feel good. It's a very annoying part. And yes, again, we don't know the end game. We don't know like a lot of legendaries and so on and so forth. Like, maybe later on that won't be a problem and you will actually be able to use quite a bit of casts. But till that point, it feels rough. It feels rough. It's not fun. And again, I was so looking forward to that particular class because I had so many hours into it in Diablo 2, and I just got disappointed. Every ability I was unlocking, every next level I was reaching, I felt like, oh, now it will turn around. Now it will change. Like with the Barbarian. right? With the barb, I just reached a point where things turned around, and now at level 25, I really have the feeling that, whoa, the barb is actually a monster if you're just giving it enough abilities, talents, and items. But it's not that. I think the druid just doesn't feel good. It feels awkward to play, slow, and rather not great, which sucks, because again, I looked really forward to the druid. But I hope they can, like, maybe I will be wrong, and at release the druid will be much better play-wise, and then of course we have all access to the features we need. But one of the things I definitely noticed, now I might bash the druid in PvE, but you know what? In PvP, I could totally imagine that the druid will be a force to be reckoned with, because he has so many abilities who are solely operational in PvP where they make sense. Like, you have a lot of immobilize, stun, pushbacks, and whatnot with the druid, which is kind of insane. Doesn't really help you in PvE, especially not when you are fighting against boss enemies, because you cannot do that to them. And so you're not getting, like, the damage perk. But in PvP, I could see that the druid will be frightening to deal with. Yeah. Like, the druid could totally nail that. Now, the thing is, we didn't have PvP to test. I couldn't play PvP, so I cannot really tell you anything about it. And we have to see. But right now, if somebody would ask me, hey, Mole, what would be a class for beginner? What would be the class for somebody who is starting out fresh in Diablo 4? And the druid? The druid would not even be on the list. Not in this state right now. Unfortunately. With that said, please don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed my thoughts, even though they were not really great on the druid. Sorry for that. Make sure to check out all the other class videos. This was the last one which was missing, and you should definitely check out the other ones. And also please consider to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more Diablo 4 content, and of course down the road some Starfield content. With that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time. Stay safe.